Welcome to the Profit Formula. I'm your co-host, Paul Wilson Jr.
And I'm Mike Upshaw, and we are the Profit Formula.
The Profit Formula. What's
There
up?
you go.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful,
Good,
man. How
good.
about yourself?
I'm good.
Good.
Good to be back on another show.
Yeah.
And share some insights, drop some nuggets, and just help people understand what it really means to be profitable.
Yeah.
In business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody wants to make money.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Right.
so, but all money ain't good money.
Our money is not good money, right?
So-
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But there's some good ways to make money,
Yeah.
and there's some not so good ways to make money. So today we're going to be talking about a very profitable way,
Yeah.
right, to build some money. But before we jump into that, we want to make sure that you subscribe, like, and share this to all your friends, family, cousins, grandmama, and them. But people in business who are really actually trying to build a profitable business.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely want to make sure you do that. So, right now, hit the button.
Before we go any further.
That's right. So we can grow this channel and keep sharing more information, and also make suggestions of topics that you think we should talk about as it relates to business, creating revenue, and especially right now, even giving people ideas. You have people that's being laid off and all these different things. So we always want to make sure that we're bringing, relevant information in this time. So,
Absolutely, definitely. And so today we're talking about something very relevant. And I'm gonna drop a statistic down here.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Yeah, you
okay,
can,
okay,
as long
good.
as it's accurate.
Yeah,
So-
right, exactly.
so-
Well, let me think. I got it from chat. No, I'm joking. I did not get this from chat.
All
But
right.
basically, when we're talking about wealth building, when we're
Yeah.
talking about businesses that build wealth over time, but not just wealth, we're talking about in terms of creating employment. Statistics say, right, if a small business in particular, right, can generate an additional between $75,000 and $150,000, let's take it half, $120,000 of additional revenue, they can actually create another job.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that means a $350,000 contract could create about 3 jobs,
Yeah.
right? And so you keep multiplying that up, you get to $1 million. That's potentially another almost 10 jobs that could be created, potentially off of one contract,
Wow.
right? And so when we talk about government contracting, right, and that could be federal, local, state, right, even corporations, even from that standpoint, it's actually a powerful, not only wealth generator, but also an employment generator for small businesses if they're able to land these contracts. And as you know, and we're going to dive in because, again, you've done a great job of acquiring these contracts.
Thank you.
Oftentimes, they're not just one-time contracts.
That's right.
They go year over year. But that's getting in a little bit of the details that we're going to cover. So yeah, so let's start there. And I'm gonna just ask you, how did you get introduced to government contracting?
Man, that's a great question. And it actually came through a relationship. So obviously with what we did before with working with churches and different things like that, on the technology side, I became known as the streaming guy.
Right.
And so through that, I was introduced to a city who needed streaming services. And as a result, that was the first opportunity of getting into local government in terms of contracts. And we led with streaming. And that was from somebody else who was a contractor. And this is the benefit of collaboration and partnerships, right? Because one of the things about contracts is you might be able to bring somebody else in, another business. So talk about the employment side, but then there's also opportunity for you to bring a contractor into a relationship as well. So I was a contractor that was being brought into the relationship from a contractor that was already involved. So, which led to a longer term relationship, and that's how we landed our first municipality.
Gotcha, absolutely. But if we go back, you may not want to go deep into this history. Even the previous company that you worked for,
Yeah, absolutely.
you all actually had a federal contract with NASA.
Yes.
Right. So you've seen it at that federal level.
Yeah.
And at that local level.
And again, and even with that, right? So, and this is going to be another one, because the path to contracts for government can be traditional, which means, you file everything, you get on the radar, you submit RFPs and all this other stuff. But even that one came through a relationship, which actually came through the church. My former partner happened to be at church, and it was somebody who worked for NASA, and they had a project that was coming up, and they were like, man, we like what you're doing for the church. That opened up the door for that, which then led into all the qualification and criteria, because you still got to qualify.
Right.
You still got to be able to not only just, have a relationship, but get in the door and then be able to manage that. But that's how that one came about. So a lot of times when I tell these stories, it goes back to something you and I was both talking about. There's not necessarily a cookie cutter method to it, but I will tell you, being in the right place at the right time, having conversations with the right people will lead you in that pathway.
Absolutely.
Once you get in the door, generally through relationships with whoever it is that the client is, they'll open up opportunities to get you into other opportunities, right?
Yeah,
so what I learned was there's a thing called a listserv. And once they put you on there, really you become available to be contacted from any other, government entity. And so glad to say that we are on a few listservs throughout the state and, and throughout federal as well. So
that basically means, for those just who don't know, right? You basically have your profile.
Yes.
In a government contracting database. Right?
Yes.
So that could be local, could be federal, could be state. And based on your profile, if something is going to come up as an RFP,
that's right,
RFI, they'll contact you and notify your company that you might be eligible and you may be interested in pursuing this opportunity.
That is correct.
Got you.
Now, I will say, I'm gonna give away some some tips, right?
Yep.
Here's the thing: every government entity has a threshold, right? And so there's these thresholds where not everything has to make an RFP.
Yep.
So if you learn what those thresholds are, that could be your easiest barrier of entry. But again, you got to be involved. So my thing is be involved, especially locally, be involved in your local government, find out what's going on, whether it's on the state level or whether it's on a city level. But, learn who the people are, learn what the needs are, kind of keep your ear to the ground. And if it's a service that you can provide, it might be an opportunity for you. Right.
Absolutely.
And so, so I would definitely say that would be, it served us well.
Absolutely. Because on the federal side, it's $25,000.
Yes.
Right. That a buyer can actually, go straight to a business that they already know of.
That's right.
That's qualified and say, I want you to do this. So that's never going to end up in a database.
Exactly.
In terms of a procurement database, that's an RFP. It's never going to go out to a listserv.
That's right.
Right. So a lot of people make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Have a lot of opportunities based on those thresholds, from that standpoint. And then some people would ask, okay, well, is that fair? Well, it's not about fair, right? But it's about the autonomy of that buyer to know what they need, and the threshold is the key, right? Because some things, a lot of people don't think about this. It costs money to actually facilitate an RFP,
It
right?
does.
There's a lot of resources that companies and agencies spend to even facilitate those processes.
That is correct.
And so for certain things, like if the risk is low and the dollar amount is low, it's like, you know what, we don't need to go through an RFP. We'll just find a qualified company, which means you need to have a relationship.
Exactly.
With buyers of agencies that you're trying to target.
Exactly. And to that point, so one of the benefits is if you know that there's a certain level and threshold, then, because one of the things about RFPs, let me back up. A client can't tell you when they're actually publishing an RFP.
Right. Exactly.
So
not until it's published.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And so once an RFP is published, then you can go out and you can apply for it. Right. And I encourage you to definitely do that because it's a lot of people that don't. And a lot of times RFPs are hanging out there for months.
Exactly.
And that's kind of like low hanging fruit because nobody's really paying attention or looking. In the state of Georgia, you want to be registered with the state of Georgia and be on that list. And I think it's called Team Marketplace.
Team Georgia Marketplace.
Team Georgia Marketplace, And you want to be there because then you'll get notifications where you can bid and jump on different things. And so that's the benefit when those RFPs are rolling out, right? So no matter what county it is or whatever, if it's a state thing or even you have schools because they're state owned, right? So you can have all of those things kind of fall into your lap as well. And then you get a chance to bid on those, right? And even if an RFP might be lower, and I'm actually surprised I'm getting ready to say this, but even if an RFP might be lower than because a lot of times you see these RFPs and you'll look at them and be like, man, who came up with this? Because this is way more work than it is. However, for me, evaluate the opportunity And if it's an opportunity to win the long-term relationship, it might be worth it.
Right.
But make sure that you're capable of delivering the product,
Absolutely.
right? Because if you're not capable, then I wouldn't jump into it. I wouldn't even bother bidding on it. But yeah, so for me, I think it's important for you to kind of pay attention and understand how RFPs work, but even more so than that, understanding how the government works when it comes to opportunities that might exist within local government or federal government.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I would even say, you talk about that dollar threshold for an RFP to go for, even if it's low, but make sure you can still do it profitably.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Because if it's too low, some people, again, if you don't have a margin to say, you know what, I'll take the low now because I have a long-term strategy.
Yeah.
But your finances aren't cooperating long term.
100%, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That may be something to avoid.
And that's the thing. You definitely have to be in position now, because this is going to be a different type of client than maybe, and it just all depends on the type of business that you have, right? I'm speaking based off our experience and the type of framework that we are as a company. The benefit could be that you win this RFP, and in there's layers of opportunities that exist.
Right.
So now you start to hear about other opportunities. So now you can kind of jump in and say, hey, these are services that we can offer.
Right.
Typically, these things will fall up under that threshold. Mm-hmm. And now you kind of become, the contractor who can step in and kind of,
Yeah.
And so in those type of situations, you can build more long-term structure with an organization. You wouldn't do this with just kind of an everyday client, because they wouldn't fit that, So in this space, it does open up those opportunities where you could do that. The other thing is collaboration with people who are winning contracts and bids can also be your entryway in also.
Right.
Because now like the way that we work, we have great relationships with other vendors. Mm-hmm. So that vendor might say, hey, we already have somebody that can come in and provide this service on top of what it is that we're doing. So they'll include you in their number. Right. And so that's why you want to make sure that you are ready, prepared, depending on the type of business that you are, make sure that you got the right type of insurance and all of these things, because it would be horrible for you to go through the process, win the bid, only to lose it because you're not qualified.
And they can't use you at that point.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. So going through the process, how do you encourage people to, we talk about building relationships, to build relationships, to connect with people? I know we rely so much on technology. You're a technology company right on now. But what do you do to actually build relationships so people know who you are, know what you do in those decision-making spaces?
That's a great question too, because it's a simple answer. It's just networking, right? Yeah. Simply, one, build your reputation, everywhere you go in a positive way. Be the person that people will refer, right? Because just like anything else, we all operate off referrals. Yeah. So if somebody says, yeah, man, I know Above the Cloud, they do great work. They may hear the name and go, okay. And then later on, when they're looking to do something, they'll say, hey, what was that company you mentioned before? You said they did this. And then, oh yeah, that's, our company over here. This is what they do. So, but that comes through building those relationships. And relationship building and networking, it's a system that takes time. Yeah. Right. So it's not all right, cool, I know you, and be a giver. Right. And what I mean by that is be willing to give opportunities to other people so that it comes back to you. Yeah. Right. Yeah, there's opportunities that was coming our way that perhaps didn't fit, but I knew that it would work with somebody else. And then I would tell them, hey, this is the person that will be great for you, and their company will do a great job for you. Although we may not be a good fit, it can circle back around. Right. Absolutely. And so be a resource. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so those are the things that, I think we perfected as a company, and it's helped our brand to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's one of the best ways to one, not only establish credibility, but also a relationship. Yeah. Right. Because if a decision maker knows that you brought a great resource person company to them. That's right. Right. You also stay top of mind. Yeah. As in, okay, this guy may know somebody else. Exactly. Right. Or when it's time to do something that you focus on. Yeah. Right, again, still top of mind, and want to make sure that they get involved in this process. Because also they're thinking about you as, right, and not just you, as your company as, okay, this company is also connected. Right. This company is in a network. That's it. And you're bringing your network to the table, not just your own company. in that way.
And that's man, you couldn't have put it in better words, because you're letting them know that you've leveraged these relationships and vetted them over the years. And because they trust you, everybody that's coming with you now has that trust, right? Absolutely. And so, and that's why you want to make sure that you rock with ethical people. You know, because you know that's one thing I don't I don't play with. Every new relationship has a testing point, right? And they don't know what that is, and what those qualifications are. But I can tell you. And you know this, I keep a very tight circle of people, and you know I do that intentionally, because if you can't do business with me right, there's no way I'm gonna introduce you. Because our clients are not just, you know, they're not clients to us, right? They literally, to me, they become a part of our family. And so because of that, man, we take it very serious, and so we don't want to just bring somebody in and be like, hey, man. Because we do tend to, and this is from our clients, you know, we kind of over deliver, right? We kind of give more. We become that source of information when they need it, and if we don't have it, we know who to point them to. And that's that above and beyond, right? Because we're not there just to get a paycheck from the client. We actually want to make sure that we deliver and really give them more, right? Because we think it's important. Because at the end of the day, one of the things I realized when you enter into these contracts, somebody else's job is connected to that decision. And I never want that person to look bad for picking us, right? And I don't ever want to look bad, right? Because at some point, somebody's going to retire, right? And now you're the new guy all over again, and you got to reintroduce yourself. And so, but if
your reputation is going to matter.
Exactly.
Get passed along.
Exactly. And so when you don't have a good reputation, that's already a problem, right? Because I think going into it, you should already have a good reputation, right? I mean, think about how many reviews you read on products that you're getting ready to order, or a restaurant you're getting ready to go to, right? So you think about those things, it's the same way that people are looking at your business. And I just think that it's important to have a great network, to have reliable people, and to do business with the right people, and those people will continue to do business with you.
Absolutely. So, and the extension of that too is, after you get the contract, make sure you do a great job.
100%.
Because that also can mess up your reputation too.
Year after year.
Exactly. It's an ongoing thing. It's not where I can relax now and you kind of let it slip. No, it's like you got to maintain that ongoing. Like I said, because you never know, somebody could switch jobs. The other thing too is, and you brought up something that I talk about a lot, but I don't hear a lot of other people talking about it, is that decision maker on that other side, right? They got a lot of pressure on them.
That's right.
Right, from their responsibilities, their goals, whatever their management is putting pressure on them. So they have to make good decisions, right? In terms of the suppliers that they choose.
100%.
So sometimes we look at it, if we don't like how a decision went, they're unfair, biased, whatever. That all that might be true. But the other part of it is true. That's a human being, and they're going to make a decision in their own best interest because they're trying to keep their job, if nothing else.
100%. And here's the other benefit. If somebody does leave, my goal is for them to take us with them. It doesn't mean I leave one contract. It means that there's an opportunity somewhere else now. Right? Because now they already trust you. They already know you. And most people are bringing their team with them. Right? And so if an opportunity shows up, you want to be, when we was doing business over here, this is how, and they were doing a great job for us. And that's another opportunity for now you to be introduced into a new relationship because somebody left. And what I found in, government is typically they've moved from place to place, right?
So all know each other.
Everybody knows each other. I walk into one place and I'm like, and they'll say, I know such and such. Well, that's already, if it's a new relationship for you and they know somebody, you just say, call them and they can tell you about us, right? And so that's why you want to make sure that you maintain, good reputation, good relationships, be accessible too. I think that's the other part. And this has been a part of us, just the nature of what we do. We've always been accessible, right? Our goal is not, to your point, to win the contract and then just kind of kick back. It's actually to go earn it. Show them that, man.
They made a good
Exactly. We glad you chose us, and we're going to show you that, you made the right choice, right? But we don't want to only show you. We want to show your whole team, everybody that's involved, that you chose, right by picking us. Because at the end of the day, even with us, when we make choices on who we're going to work with or who we're going to bring in to help us, we want to make sure. And typically, we're going to reach out to somebody and do the same thing, right? And ask, like, hey, what do you think about? And especially in the world that we operate in, it's a very small footprint, man. And you realize that this bubble gets smaller and smaller,
Right.
and you you don't want your name to be the one in the conversation like, nah, you don't work with them, right? And so you always want to make sure that you maintain the integrity of the business.
Yeah. And that's crucial too. And so again, having done on the federal side, but you also done corporate contracts and local government. What differences kind of have you experienced kind of doing business in kind of those different sectors?
Man, it's a great question too. So the difference between, I'll say I'll talk about corporate a little bit, right? A lot of times when you are working with corporate brands, it's actually a little bit easier than most people think. And again, man, it's your approach.
Right.
Unfortunately, most of the corporate brands, all the corporate brands we work with, they approached us.
Yeah.
So we were kind of blessed in that sense that to be in the right place with the right.
But that had to have been based on reputation, though, right?
And that's what I was going to say. So be in the right place with the right service, with the right relationships, right? Because again, because of some of the software that we work with, those vendors and open up doors and opportunities for us that come our way through corporate companies. Honestly, that we probably would never went out and looked for, right? Gotcha. And so when those opportunities started to come, it was just positioning. Yeah. So yes, you can market and you can do all of those things, and I think that's great. We're a marketing company also. But learning how to leverage your marketing through relationships is one of the things that I think people miss the most.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So if you carry a product or you represent a product, and you make sure you list it on their website. Make sure that you have landing pages that lead people back to you. These were the things that we did, and that's how we landed the corporate opportunities that we did. Now, once you get in and the door is open, you still have to go through the same vetting process as everybody else, right? You got to fill out all the vendor information, send all your information, and let them vet your company and make sure everything is good and all of those things, and then you kind of go through a round of interviews and. Once they establish, okay, cool, this is the person, right? Don't let them. Let me just say this: don't get so enamored by the brand that you forget how to price. Right.
Because you're trying to do them a favor. Like,
because I will tell you that they will try to kind of leverage that as a way to say, okay, cool, this is what do you charge or whatever. But man, I don't change prices based on who the client is. And that's at all, right? I think that's a horrible thing to do. And it comes from a personal experience. My wife used to have a hairdresser, right? Who, based on who you were or how much she thought you made, is based off how she priced.
Don't they call that dynamic pricing?
That
was the original dynamic pricing.
So I always said that doesn't make any sense, right? So you charge me more based on what, okay, so if you're an attorney, you should be able to pay this much. And so, and what's funny is that person was actually a client of mine, which is how my wife started even doing business with her. So, anyway, so probably why they're not in business today. But I say that to say that don't look at that company and say, oh, because you're XYZ, now I'm going to inflate my price by 10x, right? If you wouldn't do that anyway, right? Exactly. So just be ethical, right? So at the same time, I didn't allow for a company to say, well, and because we are, then you should charge. You should be happy, because you should just be happy to do business with us, right? So I serve a big God, and I trust God more than I trust any brand, right? So if He brought the opportunity our way, then He's going to ensure that knowing that we can do it, He's going to ensure that when we price, it's going to be acceptable, right? So just keep that in mind, because I've talked to a lot of people. And that's one of the things that they kind of struggle with is, man, but if I come in at this, well, I can tell you this, if you come in under, and then you need to have other people work on the project and all the things you just mentioned, right? Now, I'm paying the client to work for them, right? So you don't want to do that. So one, just know when you are approached by these particular, brands, or if you're going after them, or if you're doing RFPs, because they put out RFPs as well, make sure that when you look at the RFP, again, if it's profitable, even if it's a smaller profit, but it opens up the door and it gets you in,
Right.
measure it accordingly. I've looked at RFPs that I said, nah, it wouldn't be worth the submission, right? In fact, some stuff will cost you more just going through the submission process than the actual RFP is worth, right?
Yeah.
We did a project for a RFP for one of the local cities here. I won't name them just in case we ever get a contract with them. But I remember, man, going through the process and even looking at the RFP, I was like, man, this is not worth it. But after we put together the whole presentation and everything else, and the amount of time that it costs and the team and everything, I was like, man, by the time we do get this, we're already in the hole.
Right. Yeah.
But the things that they were asking for on the marketing side, I was like, I'm not even willing to give up that much information because it's almost like designing a complete plan. And I'll say this, read the fine print with a lot of RFPs because sometimes once you submit a lot of this information, you're literally saying they own it, right? And so
it's in that document.
Exactly. So don't just get so caught up that you have the opportunity that you don't read the fine print, right? Because you will pay for it later on when you see, man, I came up with that idea, right?
Exactly,
and now they're running with it, especially today because of AI and all these other things. Like, implementation of a strategy can be executed based off some information that you submitted. So just be, careful of that when you jump on those calls, because most organizations, when they do put out RFPs, once you start applying, they'll have sort of like these calls where you can ask questions and different things like that. So be very methodical about the questions that you ask. Like, don't just jump on a call to listen to the information. Ask questions, and ask as many questions as possible. That's the reason why they have them, so that you can kind of get the information to build, just kind of build up what you want to put in the RFP. Right?
And you can just use that as intelligence gathering.
Yes.
Right. Even if, as you look at it, like you said, you may intend not to bid, or you still maybe just wavering. Get on it anyway, because also other people may be asking questions you didn't think about asking.
That's right.
And then typically they'll send out a summary of the questions and the answers to everyone. So you want to be involved, but also your name can at least, they potentially could start to recognize your name.
That's right.
Right. Like even if you decide not to bid, so you just want to be involved as much as possible.
And another great benefit is you get to actually learn a little bit about your competitors.
Yeah, absolutely.
People that's also competing for those RFPs, because they're going to be on those calls.
Yeah.
So you can hear the questions that they ask, right? So you can and you'll learn from that.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
And it's an opportunity to kind of say, man, I like what that company, is offering. And maybe that's the opportunity to reach out to them and build relationship as well, right? Because you don't know who on that call might win the bid, right? But if you make yourself available, it could be an opportunity as well. And that's another way of networking also.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you could go in and just kind of decide, I'm not going to bid, but I may want to become a subcontractor or a partner to the winner. Yeah. So let me also keep good relationships. I think that's too. A lot of people get into the habit of trashing their competitors.
Yeah, we never did that.
Right, or just trashing other companies. But again, those could be partnership opportunities.
100%.
Right, that you could pursue. But if you take that approach, right, those will not become partnership opportunities.
And to me, it's no benefit to trashing the competitor anyway. I mean, it just, to me, it makes you look bad. Right. It's one of the things that I've always detested when I've gotten in a meeting and somebody's presenting something to me and then they telling me about this other company. Right. I really, even if I was considering the other company, I don't need you to tell me all their flaws, right?
Yeah.
And so
if you talk about them bad like that, you do the same for me, right?
There you go, right? Yeah. And so, and that's another thing, because we've had clients who actually referred their clients to us the same services that we offer that they offer, right? Because they couldn't fill a certain thing, maybe it was scheduled time or whatever, and they said, hey, we want to introduce you to, Mike Upshaw and his team and so forth, and that was a surprise, you know what I mean? So it's like, hey, man, we want to make sure that we introduce this relationship and you see where you could take it. But so imagine just having a bad reputation for doing certain things, man. It's like
it'll catch up to you. It always,
because
eventually.
In that particular case, the one thing that the guy who was referring us, one of the things that he said, he was like, man, there's a whole lot of other companies that I know that do exactly what you guys do, just like us. He said, but the level of professionalism is completely different.
Yeah.
So the reason why I feel comfortable introducing you is because out of everybody I've worked with in this space,
Right.
one of the most professional companies that, outside of obviously them.
Right,
But I thought, wow, man, what a compliment.
powerful.
Because I didn't even know that was even a consideration, right?
Yeah.
For somebody to hand you over to a client of theirs
That's
to do the
big.
same thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Yeah,
I can think of what it would be for me to say, I trust you to do this.
Take my place, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like
Gotcha.
hiring your replacement.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So well, this has been good. Like I said, we probably go in a lot of other directions, and so we'll probably have to come back and do another
100%.
part for this. But if you had to kind of wrap up, let's say maybe 3 keys or 3 lessons or 3 nuggets to give to somebody either in the space or maybe they're struggling. They've been in this space, but they're struggling to get kind of more contracts, more wins. Kind of what maybe 3 nuggets that you would leave with them?
So build good relationships, build a good reputation, and make sure that you get registered in the right places so that you can be noticed when things do come up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you heard it here from the man, Michael P. Upshaw Sr.
Yeah.
That get your whole government name.
You got the whole thing.
No, but really, when we think about, again, where we started off at the beginning of this conversation, right? Not only growing your business, but wanting to impact the community through job creation. Right, government contracts are a powerful way to do it. And contracts, period. We keep saying government, but also corporations, right? That's another branch of that process. So you just want to keep those things in mind as you're looking to grow your business, become more profitable, right? And looking for more opportunities. Sometimes, again, it literally could be in the county or city that you live in, your next contract may be waiting for you.
And it's probably one handshake away from somebody that you already know, but them knowing what it is that you do. So make sure that people within your circle know what you do, because the more they know and the more people they know and the more opportunities potentially could open up for you and your business to walk right in the door and to be able to deliver, your product or service. And so this is the profit formula. And for those of you that don't know what I do, I am the founder and owner of Above the Cloud Media and Marketing. We've been in business for over 6 years. With this particular brand, formerly president of Livestream TV. And so a lot of our conversations are going to piggyback off of, previous business that we grew successfully and was able to walk away from and do something else. But that's what we're about, is telling our stories, but inviting you to share your stories with us so that we can help you grow your business. And so I just want to make sure that y'all know that, we do have some tenure in what we're talking about.
Not just making this up.
Right.
Absolutely. So in terms of sharing your story, make sure you drop a comment down below. All right. If you heard something that connected with you, that resonated, that can help you move your business forward. Because also we want to be able to connect with you too. And for those who don't know, right, I'm founder and CEO of Paul Wilson Global Solutions, where we help companies kind of navigate this space of acquiring contracts through consulting, training, as well as technology solutions to be able to do that. So it's great to be able to kind of come on here and have some conversations. Right. But before you click away, there's one more thing you are required to do. What's that, Mike? What they need to do before they click away?
Subscribe.
Exactly.
Like
and share.
Right. There you go. It's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
Yeah. It's the least you can do.
Right. Exactly.
And so we want you to do that so that you get notifications and work that algorithm, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is us.
This is us.
And we're out.
Yeah, peace.